Today's tutorial is about another sonata in D minor by Scarlatti, K.9. This particular one is an excellent choice to start with if you haven't played any sonata by Scarlatti. Besides its simplicity, it offers a satisfying musical experience, and it's a perfect choice to prepare for more complex sonatas of this composer. In this piece, I like to focus on playing with different articulations, to contrast the textures and the melodies. Of course, our primary tools for contrast are dynamics. Still, by offering different articulations to the listener, we can extend the possibilities for creating colors and emotions. Let's take a look at the first phrase. Here, I like to connect some of the 8 notes that represent the main melody. In opposed to that, I will separate the 16 notes, which will add certain lightness and transparency to the melody. All the rest will be non-legato, not too short and not too long. The way I like playing the trill is simple. I start with a slight pause on F and finish it with another slight pause. You can also play the trill without pause, or start it from the upper note G, or play it shorter, and so on. About the left hand, I have a similar articulation plan. Again, some of the 8 notes are connected, 16 notes are staccato, and the rest are non-legato. Additionally, I will also play the upper notes of the chords and the double notes a little brighter, to make them sound more elegant. In this way, we keep both hands' articulations in harmony, because they are similarly designed. This is a very efficient way to offer a variety of textures to the listener. About timing, it is crucial to feeling the pulse while playing. Considering the 6/8 time signature, we have 2 pulses in each bar. Let's emphasize them with the wrist in both hands by slightly bouncing them. Here the critical point is to emphasize the first pulse more, to make the time signature clearer. Playing the same way would make it sound like 3/8, and we want to avoid that. Naturally, I will bounce my wrist a little deeper in the first beat, and a little less in the second. In this section, we have 2 subphrases, each 2 bars long. I'd like to start the first one with a brighter tone. And the second one is a little shy. And now let's imagine it as one extensive phrase, which has a question and answer in it. Next comes a sequence where the same motive is repeated 6 times. I like to connect the first 2 8 notes, which are neighbors, and I will distinguish the upper 8 notes by playing the second and the third one non-legato. I will bounce my wrist on each beat to make this articulation sound more natural. Also in the left hand, I will emphasize each quarter note by bouncing the wrist, and play the 8th note very lightly by gently touching the key. Here I like to decrease the dynamics, to prepare the soft start of the next section. I will play every note staccato in the next 4 bars, which suits this passage exceptionally well, because it adds some humor to the music. Now we implement another emotion next to melancholy. Here I like to emphasize the beat slightly, increase the dynamics in each bar, and play melodically by simply tracking the direction of the melody. The left hand will do just the same. When playing with both hands, we must be careful about 2 things. To play without limping and be very synchronized, first of all, make sure to keep your wrist flexed and hands relaxed. Secondly, listen well to your left hand, because the right hand is the one that needs to keep pace with. Most people's right hand is more capable than the left in piano playing, even the left-handed ones. So we should take the tempo of the left hand as the basis. Also, we must be careful about keeping the left hand slightly softer for a more transparent texture. It might sound a little controversial as I just spoke about the left hand controlling the tempo. It will control only the timing. The right hand still has the priority in sound. We implemented 3 different articulation combinations in this first section, which helps to create colorful playing. Let's move on to the next section. We start off with the motifs that have melodic and rhythmic similarities. After the build-up in the previous section, I will start with a brighter tone in the first motif and decrease the dynamic with each motif. The first trill in the right hand is the longer one, and I will play it pretty much the same way as the first trill of the piece. Slightly pause on the starting, and then trill till the next beat. The other 2 trills are shorter, so perhaps you can lighten them by playing without the pause. The length and the speed of the trills will depend on the tempo and the character you want to draw, so feel free to experiment with it. However, you must practice them slowly to increase the quality and improve your control over the dynamics. Let's play it with the right hand. I will keep the 8th notes non-legato. Softer, softer. In the next bar, I will connect the 8 notes to imitate the first bar's motif, which is rhythmically very similar. The left hand needs some voicing. First, I will emphasize the upper ones in the double notes. Then, the accompaniment gets divided into 2 layers. Let's bring out the upper melody, while gently playing the lower notes. Let's keep in mind that the left hand must be softer than the right hand. With both hands. The following section follows with 3 similar motifs, where we can see the development in each next one. I will play the trills with a pause on the beat, like the other longer trills. Let's increase the dynamic of each next bar, and let's highlight the upper layer in the second and third motifs. The following bar is the destination. Let's emphasize the climax notes both dynamically and by a bit of stretching the timing. I will play these double notes non-legato and still highlight the upper notes. Stretch, back to tempo. With this scale, I like to decrease the dynamics to prepare the soft start of the next section. The following section is very similar to the previous one, but the last motif has a more decisive character. Also here, I will play the upper layer more present, increase the dynamics with each motif, and slightly stretch the tempo in the last one. Let's pretend this is the end of the piece. And here, I will relax the melody by making it disappear every next beat and taking a little bit of time right before the trill. The last F major scale can be challenging to play light and smoothly, but I use an unusual fingering here that might be very helpful to you. I start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here I switch to third finger by jumping over the fifth. You could also switch to fourth if more comfortable. Both options are the better options in my opinion, because the legato execution will be a little more comfortable. And by switching from fifth finger to third or fourth, we naturally break the slur. Besides, we change the hand position only once with these fingerings, which is ideal for a fast passage. The left hand is very straightforward. I will emphasize the pulses, play the 8 notes staccato and the rest non-legato, highlight the upper notes, and of course, follow the same dynamic plan as the right hand. Well, time to put them together. Let's move on to the second part. It starts with a beautiful sequence, where a 2-bar long melody is repeated in 3 different tonalities. I like to shape it with a crescendo towards the extended note and soften it after the syncopation. Also, I will divide the first bar into 2 groups with a slur, and the second bar will be a bigger group with a longer slur. I will slightly emphasize the notes on the beat, which will give a clear 6/8 time signature feeling to the listener. The exact phrasing for the next melody, but with more sound. The last melody is a little different, as it is 4 bars long. Here I will increase the dynamics a little longer, until the trill, and finish the phrase by softening it after that. The left hand is relatively simple. Just make sure to play with a flexible wrist for a better sound, highlight the top voices in each chord for transparency, and follow the right hand's dynamics. Let's put them together. To me, this section sounds like finding the way to somewhere. You choose a direction, but you are not sure. You go another way, almost, but not quite. One more try, and finally, you get there. I'll go through the rest of the piece with both hands, as the textures are familiar from the first half. So you can practice them just in the same way I explained earlier with separate hands for quicker result. Next, we have 3 motives where I will play each of them softer, and after that, close the phrase with a very soft touch to present one of the most sentimental melodies in this piece. Remember to highlight the top voices in the left hand and emphasize the pulses in the beat by bouncing the wrists. In the following 4 bars, I will decrease the dynamics as much as I can and follow that with a big crescendo for 3 bars to implement more tension before we arrive at the most dramatic section of the sonata. In the following 3 motifs, let's decrease the dynamics to prepare the last section of this piece. Make sure to emphasize the upper layer in the left hand, just like in the first half. Here legato. The last section is very familiar from the first half. However, it is in the main tonality, D minor, and has a more decisive character. I will increase the dynamics in each motif in the first 3 bars, bring the melody to the climax point, relax it with the scale, build up the following 3 motifs with crescendo, and disappear in the last 3 bars by softening and slowing down. The tempo mark is allegro, and I don't necessarily focus on the speedy meaning, but on the characteristics. It must sound lively. Try to figure out everything slowly first, and then search for the tempo you like. Let's talk about pedaling. You can play it simply without pedal, if that's what you like. I'll briefly show you where and how I like to implement the sustain pedal. In the first half of the main theme, I will implement the right pedal on every beat. Then let it go for 2 bars, because I want to create more significant contrast with the staccato articulation. In the following bars, I will use the right pedal shortly on each beat to polish the slurs on the right hand and emphasize the left hand's quarter notes even better. Until the last 3 bars of the first part, I won't use much of the right pedal, because we have several motifs where the dynamic differences must be evident, which is more comfortable to do with a drier texture. In the last 3 bars, I will add the right pedal and change it every beat. Pretty much the same for the second half of the sonata. I will use the pedal by pressing it halfway on each beat in the first section and in bars number 37 and 38. After that, I will implement the pedal by pressing it fully and shortly for the next 4 bars. Finally, I will use it on each beat in the last 3 bars after the scale. That was all I wanted to tell about Sonata in D minor. Now I will put everything I explained in perspective and play the whole piece for you. Here it comes. You can get the free sheet music from the description. My fingerings are also there. If you enjoyed the video, you could let me know by giving a like. I'll see you in the next video. Later.